Hello there, my name is Grant Taylor from MobileONE Golf.
And I'm Mike Odendahl of Studio Projects. We're here to tell you about the services of MobileONE Golf, specifically the SST Pure Golf Shaft Analysis and Alignment System. So what is SST Puring?
It stands for Strategic Shaft Technologies.
And what's the benefit to the golfer?
Straighter drives, longer drives, trying to keep down the middle of the fairway and the shots with irons to the flag.
So you're trying to transfer energy through the club more efficiently, is that the idea?
Yes, that's correct.
What type of golfer would need this service?
Anyone that can make contact with the ball. It helps them immensely. It's just terrific. There's our homepage right there, MobileONE Golf, technology from the tour to you.
And what's some of the things that we can find on the website?
Well, you can find out every day where we are. You can find out some newsletters from SST Pure, which talks right to the US PGA Tour professional. There's our trailer, a 34-foot trailer, beautifully air-conditioned. We have flight scope on board. We have a cat generator that gives us power if we need it. It's got SST puring right on board. We can do all the puring right there while we're on the tee. It's really quite a trailer. It's fantastic. The beautiful part is we come right to their back door at their golf courses.
So as opposed to a club tech, you show up on a site of different golf courses to service customers. So.
Exactly, that's what we do.
And how long have you been involved in golf yourself, Grant?
I've been in golf for about 35 years. I've been with SST Pure for about 4 years. I've been down to Massachusetts. I've been down to with the Wyndham Championships. I've worked the Players Championships in Florida. It's a thrill to actually work on players clubs that you know it is. Players like, Chad Campbell we've worked on. It hasn't said it's Tiger shafts, but we're pretty sure they are. So we've done a lot of work on the US PGA Tour. And that's nice to have that experience.
What a great way to make a living.
Well, it's work after all.
Yeah. On all the most beautiful sites in the world, these beautiful golf greens, you must love it.
Well, I enjoy also working with the amateur players. I work with a lot of the golf teams, some of them in the United States, and we've found that their equipment really needs adjustments done, and we help them out the best we can.
And is there any other services you provide besides puring?
We do all minor and major repairs to any golf club. There's not a repair that we don't do. Yeah, we cover it all on that trailer.
Excellent.
That trailer that we did purchase came from Jim McLean's golf school academy in Florida, Durrell, Florida, and that was his trailer, and it was actually a Cleveland trailer that was on tour at one time.
Very good. So it's got a history.
It does.
Okay, so we're going to show the process now of actually puring. And why don't you walk us through what's happening here?
What you see there now in front of us is the Weiss extractor. It's one of the finest extractors used in the golf market today. What's nice about it, it doesn't mar the heads of any clubs that go on there. Also, when we're putting heat to it, it has constant pressure on the hosel not to damage the shaft, particularly the graphite shafts, so that we don't damage the fibers as we take it off.
Now, if I was a guy with brand new clubs, should I be nervous seeing heat applied to my brand new club like that?
Well, you should if the heat gets through to the graphite shaft particularly. We try to put minimal heat on the hosel of the club so that we don't mark it with heat marks. However, sometimes it does happen on the real stubborn ones, but we have materials, creams, and that take that right off.
But you've literally done hundreds of these clubs in this process, haven't you?
We've done thousands.
Thousands.
Thousands and thousands. Right there, there's the company has put weight up the shaft, and we're taking the weight out of the shaft. You can't pure a club with the weight in the shaft.
And you were saying that was earlier that was kind of a shortcut for manufacturers because the club head weights are wrong. Is that?
Well, the problem there is that over the last 10 years, shaft weights have come down, and when the shaft weights come down, the head weights need to increase, and that hasn't been happening in the last 10 years. So consequently, to make swing weights that they like, they add weight up the shaft.
Seems like quite a compromise, really.
Well, I believe in making clubs to the best playability we can, and that's not one way to do it.
Now there you're taking off my nice handle. Do I have to worry about that?
Well, there's two ways we grip. That one we're seeing here, we tear the grip off. During the puring process, we don't save any grips. Everything's about time for the customer. We have to have them ready the next day for them. We put on with compressed air, and we do put it on with the tape the old-fashioned way.
So what's this we're looking at now?
That's the puring machine right there. It's like a big end of a drill, and we're tightening the shaft in there. It's spring-loaded. It's inside that gear is like it grabs the club like the male hand grabs it with the left little fingers, and so that not to distort any of the readings.
Wow. And so how come you're bending it down like that?
Well, this is a structural test that we do. We're putting it under the loadometers there, and we're finding out how straight it is.
So the computer's analyzing it with sensors on that piece as well as the piece you just applied?
Exactly. Now we're doing a different test there. We've already done the structural test. Now we're doing the oscillation test.
Ah.
This shows how balanced, how stable that shaft will be.
So the whole time the computer's taking readings about how this shaft is behaving.
Every time we oscillate that shaft, it takes a reading.
Okay, so now what are we going to look for here? What are you doing?
We're going to look at the dot there. Because it's in this special holder for the shaft, it eliminates a lot of how bad the shaft is. You'll see it's going in a circle. This is a test, a lead lag test. We want that little circle to go directly back and forth. And you'll see as we just simply turn the shaft, eventually here you'll see how it becomes better and better and better. The thing is with this that a lot of the people that do spining, splining, pounding, flowing, they're interested in just getting that to go straight across. The problem we have with this is that there are about 18 spots on that shaft that gets that shaft to go straight back and forth. We have to pick one spot on that shaft, and only a computer can do that.
You're trying to find the exact precise sweet spot on that shaft to align it with the head?
Well, every shaft does have a sweet spot. We call it the stable spot of the shaft.
So it's getting better there, but
it's getting better.
Not quite.
Now you have to remember we can only make that shaft as stable as the manufactured ability of that shaft. So every shaft comes out a little bit different. Some better than others, some not as good.
Okay.
This process is done in steel shafts or graphite. It doesn't matter. As long as we understand that not one shaft or two shafts are identical.
So what you're doing with your left hand at the back on the chuck of the device is you're loosening it and you're rotating the shaft slightly, tightening it back up, and then letting it take another swing.
Well, I'm guided by the computer. The computer tells me what
really?
degree numbers to move it to, and I move it.
Oh.
And then the computer eventually finds the stable spot on the shaft. Okay. Once that happens, you'll see that we mark it, and then we use gauges to put the club back together again. We trust nothing to the eye.
So this software and this hardware is from SST Pure?
It is. We're licensees from those people. Right now, we're the only ones in Canada. There's 50 licensees throughout the world.
Wow.
This is the process that 98% of USPGA Tour players, the LPGA, and the Nationwide, they all do this process.
So now here's a great example. The bottom one, the big one, has been pured. The top one in the top right corner, it's before, it has not.
Yeah, I think the one on the bottom really hasn't been pured. We've just located it so that we can show a little bit of difference. Once that shaft is actually genuinely pured, you won't see any motion in that shaft.
But there's still a dramatic difference from the top one to the bottom one, isn't there?
Exactly.
Look at that top one there. It's all going in circles and crazy.
Remember, after the puring process, we can only make it as good as the manufactured ability. So sometimes the best position in that shaft may have a slight wobble to it, but that's the best we can get the shaft.
Okay, so the higher grade the shaft, you get a better result?
Not necessarily.
Oh, really?
No, we found some less expensive shafts come out better.
Really? Wow. So obviously that lateral motion from side to side, you want to translate that to your swing so that as you're swinging the club, all the energy is going to be going on the plane that you're swinging the club, and that's part of the alignment process.
Yeah, right down. There's the gauge that we're using for measuring the exact pure point of the shaft.
So this is all really precision equipment to be able to...
Nothing is left to guessing.
Right. So the computer's aligned it there, and then now you're marking it.
Yeah, so we mark a line on that where the computer has said to go,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're going to put it into a little gauge.
Now, can you do this to all the golf clubs, like all the different sizes or different head sizes?
The only shaft that we can't do right now is the Wilson Fat shaft, but of course they don't produce that anymore, so we can do any golf shaft in the market today.
So what's that device right there that you're putting that into?
That's just really what it's meant for is to read the angles of the loft and the angles of the lie of the club, but we use it for setting up. You'll see that aluminum bar goes right on top of the shaft. It cradles on the shaft, and then we'll bring the square point to the leading edge of the club.
Okay. So the idea is you're going to rotate the shaft until it lines up with that V, is that?
Yeah, right. The line is in the middle of the V. And then we let that would be epoxied normally, and we just let it sit.
So you would put the glue in before you slide the shaft in?
Yes.
And then rotate it till it aligns?
Yeah. We use special tour epoxy that they use on tour, and it sets up in 3 minutes, and you can play with it within 10 minutes.
That quick?
That's fast. Yeah.
Wow.
It's all about speed.
There you go. So it's just you're lining it up now.
Yeah. And then you'll see how we turn it just to get the line in the middle of the V.
And the computer setup you had before helped determine where that line should be for perfect alignment with the head. There it is, dialed in.
Yep. And then we let it sit in that position until it's cured for about 5-6 minutes, and then we can move it, go to the next club.
Very good. So how long would it take you to do a full set of, somebody walks in with their bag of clubs?
Well, if I'm there by myself, it may take me 4 hours to do a complete set of clubs. If we've got a helper in there, which really cuts the time in about half. Okay. There you see we're using little mineral spirits. This is the old-fashioned way. We do use air, but we can only use air on certain grips.
So what's the difference between, is air like a better process?
Air is fast. It's less messy, and the player can actually don't have to wait about 15 minutes. They can go right out and play with it when it's right on.
Otherwise, you have to wait for that to evaporate.
A little bit, yes. Maybe about 15 minutes with the other one, you go right to the tee.
Well, so I imagine you have many satisfied customers with this process that you've done. And
this is the most amazing process. It's right up there with all the great developments in golf.